They may not have faced each other in the World Cup this year, but let's do a whiskey Liechtenstein versus Switzerland. Hey guys, I'm Nath Martin, the Whiskey Scribe. Taste is subjective, whiskey is diverse, and this channel is about understanding it well enough to enjoy it on your own terms. Now, I recently did a video series where I explored every single country in the world that was making whiskey to a commercial standard. And I was blown away by the number of countries that were actually making whiskey, and we don't always get a lot of those whiskeys here in Australia, so I thought a lot of them were out of reach. But fortunately, I've got a whiskey friend, Uncle Baldrick.
I have a plan, sir.
Now, we sometimes conspire to share whiskey samples between each other, so I can send him Australian whiskies that aren't necessarily on the European market, and he can send me whiskies from his collection that are kind of hard to find here in Australia. Now, for this video, I wanted to pick two small countries that were relatively new to commercial whiskey and compare them to each other. So that's Switzerland versus Liechtenstein. And this video also comes with an apology because when I did my World Whiskey series, it seems I left out Liechtenstein, and I don't know why. We'll get to Liechtenstein. Switzerland used to have a law that banned spirit production from any bread-making grains. Now, this law was repealed in 1999 and the country got to work really quickly. So the first Swiss whiskey was actually released in 2002. Now, since then, there's a lot of other distilleries that have popped up. There are about 20 distilleries in Switzerland making whiskey. But what I have today comes from the Seven Seals Distillery. It's the award-winning sherry wood finish. So this is a single malt whiskey finished in sherry casks. I can't find out what it was initially aged in, but we're assuming ex-bourbon. It's a non-age statement, but they claim to have an accelerated maturation process, so I don't even know if that hits the 3-year mark. The distillery doesn't add colour to their whiskey, nor do they chill filter, and it's bottled at 46%. Now, when it comes to Liechtenstein, like I said, I have to apologise, I didn't include Liechtenstein in my World Whiskies video. For some reason, they just didn't pop up on my radar, but the Telser Distillery has been making whiskey in Liechtenstein since 2006. And the Telser Distillery is actually the oldest distillery in the country. They've been making spirit since the 1880s. But the whiskey that I have from them is, I don't know. It's another one of those ones where I know that it's a Liechtenstein single malt, but that's it. Now, I recently did a Romanian whiskey where all I knew that it was the Carpathian single malt. That was all I knew about it, and in tasting it, I actually got pretty close to the barrels, the aging time, and even I was off on the ABV. I'm always off on the ABV. But so I thought when it comes to the Liechtenstein whiskey here, I was going to taste this one blind. I'll do a comparison between the two, and at least the Swiss whiskey being a sherry finish will give me a little bit of a benchmark to sort of hopefully gauge everything off. But what I do know about the Liechtenstein whiskey that I have is that it's a single malt whiskey from unknown barrels. It's non-age statement, because Uncle Baldrick always records an age statement if there is one. The distillery doesn't add colour to their whiskey, nor do they chill filter, and I don't know the ABV. So I think we should just dive in. So this is the Swiss whiskey, and this is the Liechtenstein whiskey. Actually, you know what? Just so that you're always knowing, I might pop up Swiss, Liechtenstein. Now, the colour on these two is quite similar. And because they're non-chill filtered, they're both really nice, oily whiskies. Okay, I'm going to go for the Swiss nose first. That's exactly how you expect a sherry finished aged whiskey to smell. So you've got that sort of, those sweet sort of dark fruit sort of notes. There's a musty sort of wood element coming in there. Just those Christmas cake raisins and all of that sort of stuff. They're just literally exactly what you would expect from a sherry finished whiskey. Now the Liechtenstein whiskey, remember, all I know is it's a single malt. Whoa. That is a really different nose. There is a whole lot going on in there that I have never come across before. So I'm thinking that this is going to be probably a barrel aging or barrel finish that I've never actually tried before. Give me a sec. There's like this oddly chemical herbal sort of note going on. I do get a little bit of like that nail polish sort of smell, but usually if I get like a really strong nail polish smell, it's because the whiskey hasn't been aged long enough, so it's still very new makey, whereas that's sort of not what I'm getting here. It's more of that sort of slightly chemical sweetness that you get on nail polish remover is what I meant to say. Yeah, it's really weird. There's sweetness. It airs on the artificial side. There's a herbality to it. That's gonna be really interesting to taste. I'm gonna try the Swiss whiskey first, because at least that's gonna be, I kind of know what to expect here just from the nose. And depending on whether you're in the German, French, or Italian speaking area of the country, I'm gonna say Prost, Salute, and Santé. That is a nice sherry finished whiskey. It's actually quite dry on the palate, so you get those sweet sort of notes on the nose. The sweetness, the fruit elements are there on the palate, but it comes across quite dry, so it doesn't feel quite as sweet. And I'd say the finish is probably, I'd say about a medium finish. Those flavors do linger around. You get a little bit more caramel on the finish, but this is very, it's a nice whiskey, and it tastes almost exactly as you would expect a non-age statement sherry finished whiskey to come out of Scotland. So the Swiss are making a quality whiskey, and if you like Scotch and want to drink something from Switzerland, this would probably be a really, really good fit. But now this is where I'm really, really interested. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Zomul. I'm thinking, okay, so those chemically notes on the nose, how I said they were nicely balanced with some herbal sort of notes in there as well. I'm mostly getting the chemical flavor coming across on the palate on this one. Yeah, there's a bit of sweetness there, but the chemical really, really overrides it. I think this might be a little bit too young, which is a shame because it was interesting. It's got really, really thick, oily legs. But yeah, I don't think it's spent enough time in the barrel to sort of balance out those really chemically sort of notes that can come across when the spirit first comes off the still. Yeah, wow. Actually, I might do something that I haven't done for a little while, because I've got enough whiskey to do this. I'm going to give it a fair go. I'm going to try it in, we're bringing another country into the mix. So the Savu glass is made in Finland. It's designed to sort of disperse the ethanol sort of notes that you've got in whiskey, and then it allows you to taste some of the flavors that might be more around in the background. I'm definitely getting a very chemically note on this, so I'm hoping that's a lot of the ethanol, and trying it in this will actually give it a little bit of a better flavor. Pour that on there. Now, to give it a fair taste, you're meant to use about 40 ml in this glass, so that's probably about the right amount. I'm going to let that sit there, because I haven't tried Liechtenstein whiskey before. I want to give it a fair go. I want to like it, I do. So using this Savu glass, let's see if dispersing some of that ethanol sort of note is going to let me taste a little bit more of the whiskey that's there in the glass. Instantly on the nose, I'm getting a lot less of that nail polish remover smell. I'll first comment on the ABV. I actually think this is quite a high ABV, which might actually be also part of the problem. I would put this somewhere around about the 50s, but removing some of that ethanol note does let you taste a little bit more of it. I do get a little bit of dark fruits, but still like an element of spiciness to it. Now, I know the distillery does use quite a bit of Pinot Noir casks. I believe they use a range of casks, but based on that, I think this is probably a Pinot Noir cask, but I still think, I still think this needs quite a bit more time in the barrel. This is probably something that they've bottled the minute you could call it whiskey. At least that's how it's coming across. So I'm sorry, Liechtenstein. I'm more than happy to try anything else from that country, but in Switzerland versus Liechtenstein this time, Switzerland has definitely won it. They've done essentially a Scottish style whiskey just made in Switzerland, but it's a nice Scottish style whiskey, and you kind of can't go wrong with that. So that's where that one sits. It was interesting, it was very different. In all fairness, if I knew a little bit more about the whiskey, I probably would have maybe paired Liechtenstein against something that was a little bit similar in profile. I was secretly just hoping that this was going to be a sherry finish, because that was sort of almost an unfair fight. Yeah, the Swiss definitely got it. So I'm obviously keen to try a lot more Swiss whiskies. I'll still give Liechtenstein another go, but Switzerland was definitely the winner here. So thank you again, Uncle Baldrick, for sharing these with me. I still have a couple more from him that I'm going to try on this channel. But no matter where it's from, no matter where in the world, enjoy what's in your glass and Slange, or Prost, or any of the other ones. It's actually a bit of nuttiness coming through on the finish there too. Yummy.